Let's talk about last week. That was a disaster. I never saw that coming, and you don't as a coach, but as fans and as people watching on television, it's got to be harder than it even is for us because you can't do anything about it. And we're sitting there living the time. We're trying to do something about it, but at home, you really have nothing to do. I mean, you can't reach out and grab somebody or do this or that or make changes, so it's all up to us. So I want to apologize to our fans and our alumni, everybody that watched that game that was really hoping for a win, big win on the road, and obviously wasn't there. You know, I don't look for excuses. Never have, never will, and that's my motto, and that's the motto to our players. I've always said excuses are the nails to build a house of failure, and so we never accept excuses. You look for reasons, and in this game, as we looked at it and brought it back after nobody slept for about 3 days, and we're trying to figure out the do's and what's of what we got to do to get better. Number one, I always look at effort, and we had great effort from all of our players. Everybody that played tried hard, so that's where it's got to start, and you got to build from there. Then you look at execution, and it obviously wasn't there. You look at coaching, it obviously wasn't there. You know, the preparation of getting things done. We had a good week of practice, very good week of practice. You know, we're coming off a big win over Tulsa, getting bowl eligible, senior day and all that. You know you're going to have a little bit of letdown, but you know you're also going into a place where we didn't play very well last time. It's their senior day. They've got a good football team, and we got to play better than we've been playing on the road. The other games that we played on the road, we've been able to manage at least a fight all the way to the end, give ourselves a chance in the fourth quarter. Most of the games have come down in the last 1 or 2 minutes. That one didn't last the first 2 minutes of the first quarter. You look at our first 5 drives. We go fumble, interception, 3 downs and out, punt, interception, interception. First play of the game, we had a bust in the secondary. We gave up, 70, 80-yard pass or 60-yard pass, something like that. We never could regain our balance. We never could get anything going. I've got some emails that said, looked like you were taking it, not doing anything, not shaking anybody. That's not what you do. What you do is you look for reasons and you try to get communication on the sideline to stop the bleeding. We couldn't stop it. We kept getting worse. We made a change at quarterback. We made a change at offensive line. We made a change at running back. We switched some receivers around. Then on defense, we didn't have players to switch around. We're just trying to keep guys from panicking and making more mistakes. Somebody said you didn't holler at them. Well, you wasn't in the dressing room at halftime. I'm glad we don't video that, but it's one of those things that you, unfortunately, in our business, you have to go through. You're not going to play great every week. You got to find a way to win, as coaches and as players. It's not conceivable to any person outside of college football practice or getting ready for a game, conceivable to really realize what these players and coaches go through in a game week of preparation. It is endless of trying to get guys ready to go week in and week out. And we've had problems, you know, through this year of certain situations. But again, we don't look at that. We look for reasons why the guys on the field did not get it done. We turned the ball over. We gave up big plays early. And when you do that and you get behind, it gives them an opportunity. All they did for most of the game was just hand the ball off. And it turned into just a smash mouth game, which got to be pretty interesting. We couldn't get them off the field. But we did respond at halftime. We came out and played better, but we still continued to make some mistakes. So that being said, there's no excuse other than the fact that they played much better than we did. Very similar to the game when they came here last year. We had the game won at halftime, basically. And we've got to get away from that mode. And again, fortunately, we hadn't been around much of that since we've been here. But we have had losses. 1 point or 30 points, it makes no difference. You lose the game. We've got to get better. And it's kind of different to look at this situation this year in our football team. We're the fourth best offense in the country. You know, that would be unbelievable if you came to that game and said, I'm going to go watch one of the best offenses in the country and watch us play the first half of that football game. I mean, we didn't look like even close to being the fourth best. Defensively, we're ranked and much better defensively than we had all year long or even last year. You can't make mistakes, bottom line. You can't make the mistakes. You can't turn it over. You got to play as a group. I go back every week and just kind of assess our football team from where we are from the week to week. And, you know, our football program, even the last 3 years since I've been here, we've had to win games on kicking game and offense. If we get good play of our defense, it's been a bonus because we have been behind. Fortunately this year, because we played a much tougher schedule, every team in our conference is much better. We talked about that before. We have gotten better on defense, but it hadn't made that much of a difference because the improvement from the other teams. So we've still lived off our offense. Cincinnati's lived off offense here for the last 10 years. So basically the bottom line is we got to get better. But we got one more game here, regular season, that we'll go on the road. Their senior day, 2 days after Thanksgiving. They'll have a lot of people there. They got to win to get bowl eligible. They have got a lot to play for. And so it's no different from last week. We just got to have a better week of practice. But we got to make the football program better every week. And that's what I try to do in recruiting, in coaching the kids that we have. So on the bottom line, it all goes back to me. You know, are we doing things right? And I got 100% confidence that we're doing the right things. We got to get them to fall into place more often than what they have. So it comes down to what I do, how I get it out to coaches get it out to players, whether it's coaching or playing or recruiting. So I'm confident, you know, that we're much better than we were. It hadn't shown this year. Obviously, we could have won a couple more games, maybe 4, if the ball had bounced right. But I'm tired of asking for the ball to bounce right. We got to go win. We got to make sure that we win the game and not wait on a break. We got to make our own breaks. So, again, I want to apologize to everybody who had to watch that because that was rough. And I hadn't slept much since then because you don't go through many games like that. But hopefully you learn from it, because if we don't learn from it, and that could become a habit, and that's not going to become a habit on a football team I'm going to have a part of, because losing is a habit, and losing kind of goes out throughout your football team. And we have had serious discussions, not just this game, but all the games that we've either won or lost, and get over our football team of what we got to do to even get better, even though we might have won by a point or won by 14 points. So, not acceptable. So it's time to get on. I told our guys after yesterday we had a meeting, and that's over with. We got to get ready to go because it's not going to get any easier. And fortunately, we have another game to play after that fiasco. And so we're going to get going, and we're going to practice. We're going to practice harder. We're going to ask the guys that made the mistakes to improve, focus better. And it's got to happen in this room, in the meeting rooms, and in the dressing room, and then when we get to the stadium and when we play. It's hard to read a football team when you get to that stadium. I thought we were ready, and we were ready to play. You got to give a little bit of credit to the team on the other side of what they did, because they got a lot better football team than what they had last year. Now, East Carolina is very similar to last year. They are a throwing team that likes to run it after they throw it. If you do certain things, they'll run it. If you do certain things, they'll throw it. They got a quarterback that's gotten better as the year goes on. I think they lost one of their quarterbacks at the beginning of the season, but they've been in every game, kind of like us. They hadn't been able to win as many. They've got 5 wins. They're playing for bowl eligibility. They play very aggressive on defense, and they've got very good wide receivers. They can make lots of plays. Very similar to last week. So we'll see where this football team, what we do, how we bounce back from pretty much only playing about 4 or 5 minutes of last week. We've got a lot of holes to fill. We did have some injuries. We won't talk about them. There's no reason to. Well, somebody's got to step up and make plays. But it's good that we're getting close to the end of the season, where our next game is going to be 4 or 5 weeks away, where we can get some of those guys back 100% healthy. We've got guys that are playing that are beat up, but that's high school, college, and pro. I mean, this time of year, that's the way it is. No excuses. Just go out and let's get it done, and let's play together as a team and play together offense, defense, and special teams this week against a good football team that we will get their best shot. Questions?
Have any of the players called a players-only meeting a lot of times after like that?
Yeah. We even have them. You don't want to have them just after you have losses. We've had seniors call a meeting even after a win, encouraging people. That the worst thing you can do is start calling meetings for when they have to be called. You want to call them and say, listen, we played good on offense this week. We didn't tackle very well on defense, because football is a team sport. Everybody's got to be encouraged. Even when things happen good, they still got to be encouraged. The young guys playing behind that are backups that maybe went out for 15 plays that didn't play very well, somebody other than a coach has got to point to them, hey, when it's your time, you got to go play, because you might come in a situation where the game is on the line. And so, yeah, we have them all the time. I have senior meetings, senior-only meetings. They call meetings ever so often. Obviously, this will be a week, because this is where they want to end up strong. This is their last regular season game, the last time that they'll put on a pad against a conference team. So, yeah, good question. You've got to have strong leadership. And I've asked the seniors to even be stronger, some to be more vocal. When coaches all year long continue to push and holler and get after them in practice and make changes and all those things, goes only so far. There's got to be peer pressure coming from the players on your team, very vocal peer pressure. And we've had that throughout the year, even when we've won games. After the University of Miami game, I remember we had a team meeting, or they did, and I asked them what they were going to talk about, and they were going to talk about complacency. We won this game. We're not going to continue to just bounce back and forth and be inconsistent. This was a game that we needed to play. This is how you play at Cincinnati. This is Bearcat football, and we want more of it. And other guys on this team have to step up. That was their basic theme for that team meeting. So it's good to see that. We got good seniors. We don't have a lot of vocal guys. We have a lot of guys that are not quite like, the Nick Temples and the Jeff Lukes, who were very demanding. A lot of guys even the seniors are learning on their own. I mean, they're trying to survive themselves. So it's always a fine line between leadership, and you need leadership out of your juniors, not just your seniors, because they've been in a lot of fights too. Gunner, he said a few things. He was fired up before that football game. I mean, he was walking around patting people on the back, excited about the game, excited about getting going, and then you see what happens. But so in that game, there was no non-sense of urgency. I mean, guys were ready to go. We did not execute.
The quarterback situation, again, it seems like neither quarterback played all that well.
Neither one of them. Yeah. You look at the first situation. The second play, we got a screen pass just set up perfect and probably go 30, 40 yards, and we overthrow that. Then we do a third down, and Gunner gets his helmet torn off. And Hayden has to go from signaling, find his helmet, go out there and run a play. And we're very, very simple play that we'd called, and we missed a block. He gets hit and fumbles the ball. I mean, so good play for them. I mean, that they made something happen with a guy that goes in at 30 seconds before that, had no thoughts of even going in the game. And then, of course, the interceptions, we continue to have that. It's a very similar situation from Temple, where we turned it over 6 times, to that game. The only problem is in that game, we never stopped the bleeding on defense. Our defense didn't show up in terms of being able to stop and keep guys out of the end zone. Too many mistakes.
You were the overwhelming pick to win this league for whatever that's.
That shows what y'all knew, right? What I tell y'all when we was there. Somebody's got to be picked, and it doesn't bother me. It puts more expectations on kids that they know are going to. Can they overcome that? Can they uphold the expectations? And then, unfortunately for us, we just gave a ball game away, our first conference game, and at home, and that really puts a tough glimmer on the season, because as we did last year, you got to fight all the way back. Now, we lost the first game last year, and we won 7 straight after we got going, and so this year a little different. We lost teams that are just as good as us. But we could have won by just a little bit better execution.
My second part of that question was, do you think you overestimated your talent, or do you not as good as you thought?
No, I was going on where we are compared to last year's team. You can't compare yourself to other team at that point. You don't know how good they are. And I've said all along, and I'll say today, we're a better football team today than we were last year. Now, we're not executing like we should, with the receivers, the running backs. Last year, if you remember, the last 5 games of the year, we had one running back, basically. Well, we had Rod Moore, and we had Mike Boone that we pulled out of redshirt that just killed me having to do that because we knew how good he was going to be, but we had to do it, and he helped us win a few games. At times this year, I've thought about taking a couple of guys out of redshirt for us here. But I'm here to tell you, I've done this a long time. You have to, a school like this, redshirt your freshmen. If they can help, if they're going to help you a lot as freshmen, that means it's going to be a long year anyway. You don't win with freshmen in this business. They've got to grow up. They got to learn. They got to understand, the things that's expected of them. It's very hard. Mike was a very unusual player for us last year. He came in, and the first time he played in a college football game, he looked like he'd been out there for a year. And we're very fortunate that happened because we were in serious trouble running the football with Tion and Jose out for basically the season. So I didn't underestimate us. I just knew going into the year. I said that we'll take the lead on this year, but there's not going to be a touchdown difference from most people in this league. So you better be ready to play every week, and we found that out.
Where are you on recruiting in terms of? I think last year you said you were still maybe a year away from the 85 that you won out here.
Yeah, this is
not quite there. Still?
No, yeah, we're getting close. We're getting close. The experience part has been a little bit tougher on defense. Offensively, if we have this type of offense every year, minus the mistakes that we've made, we're going to have a good football team. We've got to get our defense to the same level. We're not close to the level of defense, but we all know that. We've looked at it. We lost 2 linebackers last year that we had to replace them with. And we replaced them. We lost our middle linebacker before the season started, and we're starting a true freshman with another kid that had played very little. And both of them have played very good. I'd love to show you a picture of both of them on the airplane going to that game the other day. Both had masks on, had the flu so bad they couldn't even move the day before a game. Actually, one of them was in the hospital the morning of the game who played. And, he didn't start. We had to start kids that never started before, but we had some tough situations in the game. But, all those things aside, somebody has got to step up and make plays, and that's good football teams do that. You can't have just good starters. You've got to have good backups. You've got to have a lot of guys that can step up. When there's an injury, there's not a drastic drop-off. You look at the 5 or 6 real good teams in the country right now, the guys that are probably going to make the playoffs are the teams that the second team and third team guys, there might be a little experience difference, but the talent difference is not there. They're all good. They all can run. And so that's what we're trying to do here is build our base of talent with older kids by redshirting, not having to play. So I did not want to play our linebacker this year, Bryce Jenkins. Did not want to play. And because we lost Cash at the beginning of the year, we had no choice. And we basically played 3 linebackers all year long. That's a tough deal. But, it is what it is. Bryce will be a lot better for it because he's played a lot of downs this year now. He's made his freshman mistakes, but he'll be a much better player because he played. But it also is going to cost him a year. He'll only have 3 years left.
You guys 5-1 at home this season, 1-4 in a row. What do you think is the biggest reason why you struggle so much?
And we talk about that all the time. And we probably should have lost the one at Miami of Ohio. That was one of our worst games of the year. They played good. They had us on the ropes the entire game. Gunner got knocked out. We had to bring in a quarterback that never played in a college football game, and he turned it over 2 times, maybe 3 times in the first 4 minutes. He's out there. I mean, it didn't look good. And then we found a way to win. We have not found a way to win on the road since. You just look at the BYU game and some of the Houston game. We're in all of them. We're playing well. We're as good as the other teams. We couldn't find a way to get over the hump on those games. And a lot of it has to do, if you look at, a lot of it has to do with the fourth quarter. And we look at our players from the beginning to the end, how they played, what was their technique like in the last 10 minutes of the game. Was it as good as the first 10 minutes? No. You can't do that. I mean, and again, a lot of that has to do with depth. So, it's answering Tom's question, we've got to have another good recruiting year this year. We'll have 15 or 16 guys that will play that we redshirted this year, and then next year we'll do the same thing. We'll bring in probably 6 players in January that will help this team win next year, junior college players or prep school players that will have 4 years left. And so that's an important issue. That's an important issue at every school. You know, we're recruiting against South Carolina, we're recruiting against Missouri, we're recruiting against Texas, Arizona State on a lot of these guys. Everybody's in the same situation. It's a numbers game. You got to have depth, and you got to find, there's a lot of those guys that go to junior college for certain reasons, usually academic. They fell back behind their academics. We see more and more of that can play our level, and it helps your depth. Sometimes it will help you at a starter position, but most of all, those positions are going to help you with depth.
Anything else, guys?
Just one, you mentioned some of the emails. Is there anything to the people that, you know, the fans and the people who support, that regardless of what happens Saturday, that going forward, what would you say to reassure them the program is going to be all right, you're headed in the right direction still?
Well, we've won a lot of games. We're bowl eligible. We're not where, you know, when your expectations are up here and you're probably about halfway to where you wanted to get to, those years happen. But I will say that there's a bigger body of work other than just playing the games. You know, as we just talked about, recruiting is the most important thing that you do. Players win games, okay? You got to have the players. You can't go out there and think you're going to out-coach people. That ain't going to happen. Now, you can get beat coaching. You can sure do that, but you're not going to out-coach a lot of teams. You got to have speed, you got to have talent, but you've got to have also the scheme. Our scheme is not one of these chunk and dunk offenses. Our quarterback runs the show. Very few teams do that anymore. He changes the play at the line of scrimmage. The ball game is in his hands. He reads coverages. We don't tell him who to throw it to. And so it is a process. That's the reason I was really amazed how Hayden Moore threw for 560 yards in his first start, or really first time he played any length of time against Memphis. I mean, I was amazed, shocked, because you've got to make a lot of good decisions to do that. So basically, you know, that's one game. That's one game. Again, we lost 4 other games by a touchdown. That kills me as much as losing that game by, you know, the 30, 40 points that we lost by, because we didn't give ourselves a chance to win. But we are going to get better. We're recruiting hard. We got probably 20 commitments, guys that want to come here, and that's what we'll do for the next 2 months.